Beside 4, 4, 15.
Yeah, that's the first one. That's the only one I like
Having
came
trouble with.
kind of. I might find some more though, but yeah, we can
Okay,
go over
yep.
that one.
Go ahead and find some more if you I will show it to you. So I'm recording here. So the next one that we have is a test. Your tests, your finals is going to be in May. So it will consist of chapter 4.3, 4.4 conic section here, and then chapter 11. So if you look at conic section here, there will be a very difficult, there are some difficult formulas that you guys need to know. So there is one page that is provided to you guys in your test, which is this page. So if you look at my screen right now over here, so if you look at this blue box that I draw over here, this is the one that is provided in your finals. So you actually do not need to memorize the equations of a circle, ellipses, hyperbolas, and parabolas, because this will be provided in finals. Unfortunately, this is not in the final. So so that means that it doesn't provide you how to find C, the distance of the foci. It won't tell you how to figure out your vertices and your foci formula. For a hyperbola, it doesn't have asymptotes formulas. So so the one that is written in blue that you see over here, these are the one that is not in your it's not provided in the finals. So it's actually just the one in the printing here. So the one with the black ink printing here. So this is actually will be provided in your final. So you do not need to memorize all the formulas here. The only thing you need to add on to this when you get your test, your finals is the how you figure out C and how do you figure out your foci, your vertices, and your asymptotes in this case. So I'm gonna go to question 4.4 question 15 here. So this is the equation. They really tell you this is the equation of a circle. So usually this is the kind of questions you get in the test in the finals, but I won't tell you what kind of conic section is this. I will just say this is the equations of a conic section. The first thing you need to tell me is what is the conic section is. Is that a circle? Is that a parabola? Is it a hyperbola, or is it an ellipse? And then after that, if it's a circle, you need to find the center and radius. If it's a parabola, you need to find the vertex, the focus point, and the directrix. And if it's a ellipses, you have to find those corresponding stuff like the ellipses, the vertices, and your major and minor axis. But so I will so this is mostly what you get in my final question. So I just give you an equation like this, and you have to figure out what kind of equations you get, what kind of conic sections you have. So just want to point out to you guys that the equations that I given in the test here. So make sure that in order for you to have a circle, the main part of circle is square and the plus. So both of these are square and the plus, and you got a radius square. So this is a circle. The ellipses that you have here is usually you get square and the plus, but this is always equals to 1 for ellipses. And this is if you have a major axis ellipses mean it goes sideways like this. The higher number on the X side than the B. So your A is actually bigger than B here. So that's how usually I figure out is I look who is a bigger number, and that if there is a bigger number here, that if you go up there. If it's on the X, means it goes on the X axis. If it's on the Y, it goes on the Y axis. The difference between the circle and ellipse is these two are not the same. But if your A square is equals to your B square for your ellipses, then you get a circle. Okay, so circle only happens when your A and B is the same. So that's why that's your radius actually. So that is how you figure out. Usually in this case, your a square is bigger than b squared. Okay, usually your a is greater than b. Okay, in this case, but if you find out that they are equal, it's circle. Okay, you will get circle in this case. Okay. Then hyperbola is the same thing as an ellipsis, but you, instead of plus, it is a minus. And then a is not necessary to be it's not a is not it doesn't matter a is less than b or b a is greater than b, doesn't matter. So for ellipses, it does not have this specialty about a and b. That means a has to be greater than b or a has to be equal. No. For ellipses, it doesn't have. It doesn't matter a is smaller than b, a is greater than b. It doesn't. But for ellipses, yes. How do you figure out which one is which? Is if you have an x for hyperbola, if you have an x coming out, it goes sideways like this. If you have y coming first, y is a positive, it goes up and down. So that is the hyperbola. And for parabola, you only get one square. The other one, that means your x, you get square or you get y square. The other variables is not square. So if you find both of these variables squaring, then you look at the sign. If your sign is plus, either circle or ellipsis. But if your sign is minus, hyperbola, but you only got one squaring but not the other square, automatically it's a parabola. So for this question that you asked me, number 15, we know that this is either a circle or an ellipse. Okay, because you got square on both sides, and then you also have a plus sign. So that is how I figure out this is either a circle or ellipse because of this case. So what do I do with this kind of questions is you have to do what we call as completing the square. So yes, this is a question that you will get in my finals. So it's very important. How do we completing the square for this case? One, you have to separate your x's, your y's, and then you put your number in the last part. So you move your number to it. So kind of like separate them, x variables on one side, y variable in the middle, and then you put in the number part. And then secondly is if you have a leading coefficient, you have to get rid of it by dividing. So if you have leading coefficient, you have to get rid of it. So like this case, we have a leading coefficient, we will need to get rid of it later on. And then the third one we have, once you finish getting rid of your leading coefficient, the next thing we're gonna do is we have to take the middle term. You have to the middle term, and you divide by 2. And you square it. This number, you have to add it to both sides of the equation. And then you will find out that you will get 3 terms here. And these 3 terms will able to factor, and your factor will be a perfect square. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this question first. So you're following these 4 steps here. So first thing first is we have to kind of separate all the variables. So 4x squared is here, and then the 12x is here. So I take all the x on one side, and then 4y squared is here, positive. Don't forget the plus sign is very important. And then minus 24y. And then I move the 41 over, become negative 41. Okay. So this is what do we do here is we separate them, all the x, all the y, and this. Instead of dividing here, I should not divide here. Actually, you don't divide here. If you have a leading coefficient, you factor it out. Sorry about that. You factor it out. So for this case, we have a lead, for x case, we have a leading coefficient of 4, so you have to factor the 4 out. So what I have in this case is x squared plus 3x. Same thing with the y. We have also the leading coefficient is 4, so we will factor the 4 out. You will get y squared minus 6y, and you still have 41, negative 41 over here. So we don't divide this. You can divide it actually, but factoring be better. So you take out the 4 in this case. And now what you do here is the third step is you take the middle term, which is 3. You divide it by 2 and you square it. So this is what we mean by completing the squares is you take the middle. Once your leading coefficient is 1, okay, once your leading coefficient is 1 here, you can actually take the middle term and divide it in square. So this is actually is 9 over 4. So you need to add 9 over 4 here. Now, a lot of students, like what I say, you have to add this on both sides. So a lot of students add 9 over 4 in this case. If you add 9 over 4 in this case, is wrong. So do not do this in your final test. Although I say you add it to both sides, unfortunately, you don't add 9 over 4 in this case. It's because you already factor 4 out. So this 4 will distribute to this 9 over 4. So when you take 4 times 9 over 4, you get 9. So the 9 is the one that you have to put in here. So not 9 over 4. So every time you factor something out, like in this case 4, when you do your middle term divided by 2 and square, you did put 9 over 4 here, but this one you have to multiply in. Okay. We'll do the same thing for your y term. So our y term in this case is middle term is negative 6. I divide by 2 and square it. This will give me 9 because 6 over 2 is 3 and square it become 9. So we will add 9 here. And again, you don't add 9 here. This is going to be wrong. So can someone tell me what do we need to add here to balance out this equation?
Do 9 times 4 and then add it on the other side.
Which is, what's 9 times 4?
36.
36, yep. So so this is one of the common mistakes students make in my test, in my final here, is they forget to distribute that 4 and add it over there. So what is going on next here is we can do some simplification. So we still have the 4 here. Now these 3 terms that you have is what we call as a perfect square. So this is the 4th step that we're talking about. So these 3 terms, you always get 3 terms, and these 3 terms will be a perfect square. How do you know what number to fill in here? Is you take the square root of this. So what is the square of 9 over 4? So 9 is a perfect square of 3, and 4 is a perfect square of 2. So this is, and yes, it's always worked this way. If you FOIL this one out, you will get back x squared plus 3x plus 9 over 4. And then you have a 4 here, and you do the same thing. These 3 terms will also give us a perfect square, and this is why. And because this is a minus, so this will be a minus sign. And then how you figure out is you take the square root of 9, what you have add on. So in this case is 3. And then you just need to add all these numbers out. Does anyone know what you get when you add all these numbers out? 9 plus 36 minus 41. You will get 4. Usually, because they all have 4, 4, 4, so you can actually divide everything here by 4. So this is all cancel out. So what you get here is just x plus 3/2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals to 1. Now, since there is no number here, because if you have a number underneath them, there will be ellipses. But since there is no number underneath here, this is actually a circle. So circle needs to give me 2 things. your center of the circle, which is HK, and the radius, which is R. So how do you figure out the center of a circle? Is inside your X. So if you look at the circle, the center HK is right over here. So make sure the sign is negative. So that means you have to switch your sign. So what we have here is +3/2. So what is my HK in this case? This is my H, and this is my K. So anyone know what is the HK in this case, your center?
Is it -3/2 and 3?
Yep, that is correct. So this is how you get your HK. And your radius is the square root of this last one. So square root of 1, which in this case is 1. So this is how you figure out your center and your radius. This is for question number 15 in your homework here. So center and radius is right there. Anyone have any questions for me? So you will get these kind of questions in your finals. And if you need, I will go to a few more. And there is no shortcut. This is the only way to do it. Completing the squares. This is the only, there is no other shortcut to do it. If there's a shortcut, I will show it to you. But unfortunately, there's no shortcut here. Adam or Summer, any questions you have on your homework?
I'll see if I can find something else. Just give me a second.
Summer, you got any questions for me?
I don't have any questions at the moment. I can also see if I have any.
Yep. I'm gonna go through some questions. You guys you guys go ahead and find some questions. I do have some questions regarding with. I got one questions regarding with the semicircle one. This one, the semi-elliptical. Semi-elliptical. So and then I will go to this again one more time with you guys because this is very the one that we're doing in here is very important. So so it says that we have a semi-elliptical arc over a tunnel with a one-way road. Has a major axis of 42 and the height is 10. So when you have a semi-elliptical is an ellipse, but you cut it into half. It says that the major axis is 42, so this is the major axis, the longer side, and the height is 10. So what will be your coordinates in this case if I say, if this is at 0, 0, if your center is at 0, 0. So if your center road is at the 0, 0, and the length for this is 42, what is the coordinates for this, and this?
-21, 0, 21, 0, and
Yep.
0, 10.
Yep. So make sure you know how to, you just divide 42 by half, so you get 21 each, and the one is on the negative. So your graph will be this graph. Okay. So you got 21s, negative and positive, and 10 on top. Okay. So question B is asking us to find the equations of the semi-elliptical here. So since your origin, your center is an origin, so your formula will be x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals to 1. So what we do here is we just substitute your a, which is, this is your a, which is 21. So it's x squared over 21 squared, and your b is the height, which is in this case 10. This is your b. 10 squared equals to 1. So if you square this, so this is x squared over by 21 squared is 400 something. So what's 21 squared? 21 squared, 441. And then 10 is 100. And this is equal to 1. Now, some of you write your answer like this, they will take it. Yes, you can do it. But the only thing you need to watch out here is because if you do this, you are talking about the whole semi-elliptical, but we are only we're talking about whole ellipse, but we are only talking about half, and we need the positive side. We just need this positive side. So your y in this case has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. So what do you mean by y must be greater than or equal to 0 means that your y has to be on the top side. If you put y is less than or equals to 0, means you're taking the bottom side. Okay. So but we only do the top side here, so we don't use the less than or equals to 0. So we will use y is greater than or equals to 0. And then the question is asking us is, part C, if you have a truck and this truck has a width of 10 feet and it has a height of 11 feet, can this truck goes into the arc? So don't forget, this is a one-way road here. So so if you are driving through, you're driving through right in the middle. So this truck is gonna be this one, the red one. And it has 10 feet wide and 11 feet tall. Okay. So what happened is that since you drive in the middle, so this will become 5 each because the width is 10. So we just need to put x equals to 5 in here. So you just put x equals to 5 into this equation and figure out what is your y value. If your y value is more than, it doesn't came up to be 11. If it came out more than 11, then it's no good because that means no, if you put x equals to 5 and your y came out to be more than 11 feet, this is good. Yes, your truck can go through because the space, the height of the tunnel is taller than your truck. But if your y is less than 11, then it's the bad news. Okay, that means you cannot go through because then your truck will have some problems, your big problems. So let's plug 5 into this equation here. This is mostly calculator here. So 5 squared over by 441 plus y squared over by 100 equals to 1. And we will try to solve for y here. So I move this over there. So become negative 25 over 441. Make sure you use your calculator here. And then in order for me to get rid of this 100, I multiply this by 100. So this 100 will be gone. And then after that, I'll take the square root of it. So this is a square root of 1 minus 25 over 441 times 100. So you can find what is this value is. Square root of 1 minus 25 ABC 441. Make sure you use your ABC button here. And then close your parentheses, multiply by 100. So this will came out to be 9.712. So that means that at 5, when x is 5, this is 9.712. And your truck is actually 11 feet tall. Your truck is this tall. So the question is, can your truck go through this tunnel? Yes or no? Since it's higher than that, so in this case, no, you cannot go, your truck cannot go through. So make sure that since your answer is less than 11, no, you cannot go through it. But if it's greater, if your answer is greater than 11, then you can go through it. Anyone have any questions on this question 26 here? This is question 26 on 4.3. It's one of the word questions that a lot of you ask me. Anyone have any questions? Andy, you got questions for me for chapter 4 here, 4.3 and 4.4? Adam, Summer?
Do you think you could go over 4.3, number 16?
Number what?
Number 16?
16?
Yeah.
Okay, and Summer?
I was wondering if you can go over like more about finding the eccentricity.
Oh yeah. The formula for eccentricity is C over A. This is only for ellipses. So for ellipses, if you want to find the eccentricity, it's gonna be C over A. I won't ask this in your test, so don't worry about it. Okay, I will look at, I think number 6 is 16 or this question 16 is ellipses, Adam?
No, it's
No, it's
find.
a parabola. Okay, we'll talk about that Summer on the next one. Okay, I think that's underneath it. So so for parabola, so again, those who just this, if you look at my the notes in D2L, the 4.4, this whole thing is provided in your test, so you do not need to actually worry to memorize all your 4 conic sections here. The main part is make sure you know this is good because it's also good for if your vertex or your center is at 0, 0. So I mean that's why this formula is good for 4.3 and 4.4. So if you look at this question number 16 here, you notice this is a parabola because it's only one square. The other one doesn't have square on it. So this is a parabola. And to be more, you figure out which one has square on it. So looks like your X has square on it. So that means that this is actually parabola with the vertical axis. Means you either open upward or downward, depends on your P. Okay. So for us to do this question, number 16 here is y equals to 1 over 3x squared. Now, if you look carefully with this formula, the formula says that x squared is here, and then you got 4p and the y. So what you need to do here is you have to make this x squared by itself. So what do I do is I multiply that 3 over there. So in this case, I will get 3y equals to x squared. Or if I want to write down, I can say x squared equals to 3y. So this is very similar to this formula where h and k, your vertex is at 0, 0. So, so if you compare this with x squared equals to 4py, because our hk is 0, 0, you can figure out our p in this case. So how do you figure out your p is you just solve this equation. So 4p is equals to 3. So p in this case will be 3/4. So once you get your p, once you know your p, which is the distance from the vertex to the to your focus point, then you can able to find your focus point. So if you look at the formula here, the formula also gives us focus point. So the focus point in this case, again, our HK is 0, 0 because we don't have HK. So your focus point in this case will be 0, 3/4. Will be HK will be 0, 0. So and P is 3/4. So 0 plus 3/4 is 3/4. And your directrix in this case is an equation, y equals to k minus p. And don't forget, k in this case is 0, and your p in this case is 3/4 from this one. So your directrix in this case is y equals to -3/4. Now, the same thing happens in your test. If you don't give me y equals 2 or x equals 2 for the other case, you will get half a point, or I'll take half a point. So make sure you put y equals 2 and x equals 2. So the focus point for this question is going to be 0, 3/4. It's a coordinates for focus. For the directrix is y equals to -3/4. So make sure you have the y is equation. It has to be y equals 2. So if you give negative 3/4, they will mark you wrong. We know this one, since it is a positive, so it will be open upward. So if your P is positive, it will be open upward. If your P is negative, it will open downward. So your answer in this case will be open upward parabola. So that will be just this. This is the only one that's open upward. The rest is sideways, not the right one. You okay there, Adam?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. So that's why I really strongly suggest you guys to use this formula to do your homework here, because then because in your test is provided to you. I'm going to talk about the eccentricity one. I think is, yep, there you go. This is the one, number 24. Okay. So number 24. So 24 is given us by the equations of x squared over by 25 plus y squared over by 16 equals to 1. So this one we know is an ellipse because it's square and then a plus in the middle. So if you look at the formula here, for ellipses, you look at who is bigger, 25 or 16, and we know 25 is bigger. So that means that this is your A. So whoever that is the biggest one, A square, sorry, this is your A square, not A. And this is your B square. So a lot of students make mistake saying that that is your A and that's your B. No, that's your A square and B square. So the biggest one is your A square, the smallest one is B square. That is for ellipses. So in this case, we know A will be 5 plus minus 5. And B in this case will be plus minus 4. Okay. So what is A means? A is actually the distance from your center, which is in this case 0, 0, to your vertex. So that means these are all 5 units. That's meaning of A. B in this case is the minor axis, means it's going up because this one is going sideways on the x-axis. So the side here will be 4 and the will be 4. So this is what your ellipse looks like. So this is 4. This is 4. So there are 4. The B will be telling us the 4. The A will be telling us the 5. If you switch this around, if your 25 is on the 16 and 6, then it's opposite. So you open this way, where the 4 will go this to go left, right, and then 5 will go up, down. Okay, so this is for if you have a if you switch around. How do you find C? C is actually the distance of the foci. This is all important. So make sure you know A is the distance of the vertex. B in this case is the distance that your minor axis, the other direction. And then C is the distance of a foci. For ellipses, the formula is like Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. But this is for hyperbola, but for ellipse, we won't use plus, we will use minus. So this is, I always remember, it's because my teacher taught me when I was in high school. So so for ellipses, it's minus. So what you do here is you just substitute your A squared, which is 25, and your B squared, which is 16, and equals to C squared. So this was actually going to be 9. If you find out this is a -9, that means you switch those two around, because your A is always greater than B. So when you subtract these two, your answer should be always positive. But if you end up to be a -9, something is wrong, because as you know that when you have a C square here, when you take a square root, you cannot have a negative. So if you do have a negative in this a number here, automatically we know it's wrong. So C in this case is going to be a plus minus 3. Okay, so this is all important, A, B, C here, because it will tell us how to draw your graph, how to figure out your vertices. So how do you figure out your vertex? So since the center is at 0, 0, and this is 5 each, so this will be at -5, 0, and 5, 0. So your vertex in this case will be -5, 0, and 5, 0. Your foci will be considered C. So this is your foci in this case. So because it's 3, so in this case will be -3, 0, and 3, 0. And if you want to find the eccentricity of it, eccentricity, the formula is C over A. C in this case is 3, and A in this case is 5. So your answer is 3/5. So this is how you figure out your, they don't even ask for foci, but usually in the test, I will ask for foci. So for your online homework here, your vertex, that asks for vertices here, your vertex in this case will be -5, 0, and 5, 0. So they want a smaller one. So -5 is the smaller one, and 5, 0 is the larger one. The eccentricity in this case is 3/5. C over A. It's the formula is always C over A. So the graph will look something like this, where it's 5 and then 4. So we're looking at 5 on the side and 4. So it looks more on this one, where 5 units is on the side and 4 is on up down. So this is the graph for the ellipses. You guys all right here? Summer?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep. I don't ask for eccentricity in the test, so don't worry about this one. Okay. But make sure you know how to find all these things. This is important. And you guys have any more questions before I go on with some more difficult ones? You guys are quiet. This is actually a bit easier than what you did, because we are no longer doing sine, cosine, tangent, and all those things anymore. So you won't see those sine, cosine, tangent stuff. So this question is asking us to find the equations of a hyperbola. Given us that the vertices is ±8, 0, and the foci is ±9, 0. And this is a hyperbola. Now, how do we know? So hyperbola, we have two formula here. This is the formula for hyperbola. Is either it is horizontal or vertical. So how do we know that it is a horizontal, and how do we know it's a vertical? I will suggest you to plot this point out, then you know. So ±8, 0 is here. This is your vertices. So if you remember your hyperbola is like parabola but it goes both up and down instead of one. So if this is your vertex, the only thing I can tell you is your hyperbola has to go this way. Okay. If your vertex is on the y-axis, then it's going the other way. So I want to point out to you guys that how do we know this is where is the plus minus sign comes from. If that plus minus sign comes from your x-axis, then you open sideways. If your plus minus sign comes from the y-axis, y value, then it will be going this direction. Okay, so it depends on where the plus minus sign comes from. Okay, then it will be this way. But since we are of x on the x value, so that's why it's open sideways. So for hyperbola, the open sideways means it is on the x-axis. So the formula is the first one. So that's why the x comes in first. If you have a hyperbola that goes up and down, it is on the y-axis. So that's why the y comes first, then the x. So this is how you figure out which formula it is. So if it's open sideways, it's on the x at the transverse axis on the x-axis. So it's x come first. If it's on the y-axis, open up and down, then your y come first. So the formula in this case will be x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals to 1. And we do not need to worry about hk here. It's because our center is at 0, 0 at the origin. So we don't need to worry about that. And again, we have to figure out, this plus minus 8 is your A. And 4 chi is C. Don't forget, 4 chi is always C, denoted by C, the distance. Vertex is always A. So we got A squared already, which is 8. So this, we got it, is 64. But our question now is to figure out our B squared. So how do you figure out B squared? Is you have to use your Pythagorean theorem. So this is exactly like Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. So A is 8 squared. We do not know B squared, but C is 9 squared. That's what 9 from. So this is 64 plus B squared equals to 81. And then you subtract 64 over here. I think you get what, 17? I think so, right? 81, take away 64. Is that right? 81 minus 64. Yep, 17. You do not need to take the square root of it. It's because this formula is asking for B squared. So because our B squared is 17, so this is your 17. No, there's no square root. So this is the equations of your hyperbola. In this case, is x squared over 64 minus y squared over 17 equals to 1. So you can tell that the plus minus sign is on the x value, so it's open sideways. Now, if you look at this one, the hyperbola, your plus minus is on the y value, so we know it's going to be open this way. So make sure you guys pay attention on the pattern, pay attention on the stuff that I'm pointing out here, because it really gonna help you in your test. You guys okay? Any more questions you guys have before I just go on with more work?
Isn't the minor axis on the horizontal?
Which one? For the hyperbola one?
Yeah.
We don't have minor and major for hyperbola.
Oh,
so
okay.
Hyperbola, we only have the transverse axis. Transverse axis will be, if it's talking about hyperbola, this is the transverse axis, the orange line. That means that the transverse axis will have the vertices and will have the foci on it. And this is on the x-axis. That's why the x comes first. And this is your transverse axis, because your vertices and your foci is on it. Your vertices and your foci. So since it's on the y-axis, so the equation will be y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals to 1. So the a squared, b squared is still going to be the same place. We just switch your x and y around. Depends on what transverse axis. We only do minor and major for ellipses. For hyperbola, we just do the transverse axis in this case. Questions you guys have?
Could you go over 4.4 number 16?
16?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
So this is already a parabola, they will tell you, but in the test, again, I won't tell you what it is. So how do I know this is a parabola without even looking at this is the square. You can only see one square, the other one does not square, automatically is a parabola. So as you look at the parabola, you always separate the square one with the non-square one. You see that? The parabola always do that. So what you do here is we separate them. So for number 16 on this question, I will put the y minus 4 square here. And then I move this over there. So if I move that over there, then it becomes negative x plus 2. Okay. And if you look at this, and if you compare with the parabola equations that we have here, which one is the right one? Is that the vertical axis or the horizontal axis for this case?
Is it horizontal?
Yep. And why is horizontal, Summer?
Because the y minus 4 has a square.
Yep, because of the y square. So if you have a y square, it's horizontal. Horizontal means that either your parabola is open up or open down. Okay. So it is the horizontal. If this is an x with a square on it, then this is going to be a vertical. And so the equation in this case is y minus k squared equals to 4px minus h. This is the equation that from the horizontal one. Okay. So now we know our hk, which is your vertex. So your vertex in this case is hk. And what is hk in this case? H is 3 or negative 3?
-3.
And k?
4.
Very good. Now, we always need to find p, because if you look at the next, all this equation, we got hk and then we have p. Do you see how the p comes out? And the p comes from here. Don't forget, this is -1 in here. So again, we solve this equation. 4p equals to -1. So p in this case is what? -1/4. So now you can figure out, so once you get your P and your H and K, you can figure out your focus point. Your focus point is this one because it's a horizontal. So this is a focus point. So your focus point in this case will be H plus P K. It's a coordinates. So that's why it has to be in a coordinate form. H plus PK. H in this case is -3 that you found on your vertex, minus 1/4 because your P is -1/2. K instead is 4 because it's a 4 here. So what, anyone know what's -3 minus 1/4? That's 3 times 4 plus 1, 3 plus 13, right? So this is your focus point. And then you need to find your directrix. Directrix formula is x equals to h minus p, which is right over here. Again, this is all given in your test, so make sure you guys know applying it. That's mostly, I'm testing you how to apply it, which one is which. If you give me a vertical axis, everything is going to be wrong. X in this case is h minus p. H in this case is -3. Minus p, p is a negative, so 2 negative become positive, so this is a +1/4. So this is actually is what, 2 3/4, -2 3/4, because 3 take away half. Yep. So this is -11. So when you put this in your answer, make sure you put x equals to -11/4. Do not give me -11/4 because you will get it wrong. So this question, your vertex is this, -3 4. Your focus point is this one, -13 4 4. Oh, come. And your directrix is x equals to -11 over 4. Don't forget you need x equals to. It's going to be open sideways. Now, very good because this is a let me, what happens to my, oh yeah, it's open, no, it's, sorry about that. Since it's so it's horizontal, so it's open sideways. And because we know your P is negative, so it's going to be open on the left side because it's negative. So they're smart, so they're all open on the left, but then you figure out your vertex is -3/4. So where is -3/4 at? What quadrant is it at? -3/4. So what graph you think you have? Where's negative? So -3, 4, right? So this is your graph looks like. So that looks like this one. You okay there, Adam?
Yeah.
Now 17 is tough. I'm not gonna finish 17. I will let you guys do the whole set thing. The reason why I say 17 is tough is because it is written in a weird form. It is a parabola because it's only got one square, your y, your x has no square. So what you need to do is you try to make completing the squares in this case. So 17 is actually a bit more difficult than 16. So I'm gonna multiply the 2 up there, so make it no fraction. So it's y squared plus 18y plus 71 equals to 2x. I just moved that 2 over there, make it nicer. So again, if you remember, you're completing the square. The first rule is make sure that you got your x over here, y over here, and number over here. But this does not apply to here. The reason why is because a parabola, as I mentioned, they separate your x on the one side and your y on the other side, or you separate these two variables. So what we're gonna do here is for parabola, you have to like separate your x and y. So your y is separated, your x is over here. Now, since you have a y square here, so the 71 has to move over here. So this will become -71. So this is what you need to do first is you separate this so that your y square and your y will be on one side and your x is with the number. Depends on where the squaring at, okay? And then the second thing is make sure that your leading coefficient is 1. This is 1. Otherwise, you have to factor it. The good news is the leading coefficient here is 1, so you do not need to worry about it. The third step is you take the middle term, you divide by 2 and you square it, and then you add to both sides of the equation. So what you do here is you take your middle term, which is 18, and you divide by 2 and you square it. Anyone know what number is that? What's 18 divided by 2?
9.
Square it.
81.
So you add 81 on both sides. Because we didn't factor anything out, so you do not need to worry about multiplying. Like last time, I remember you got 4, we had to multiply 4. This one, you do not need to. And then the fourth step is these 3 terms can be factored to be perfect square. So these 3 terms will be factored to be, anyone can tell me what is a perfect square here? Anyone know what's a perfect square of 81?
9.
So this is how to figure out. So or you can do half of 18. Either way is you can do half of 18 or square of 81. Doesn't matter. Do a little math here. So 2x -71 plus 81 is 10, right? Positive 10. Now, if you look at your formula for your parabola, is this vertical or is this horizontal? Again, is that x squared or is that y squared?
It's horizontal.
This is horizontal, means it's open sideways. Okay, either left or all right. Okay. And if you look carefully here, they always factor your x on the right side here. Your x only have one x. So what you need to do here is you have to factor the 2 out. And when you factor the 2, you get x plus 5. And since this is the horizontal axis parabola, the formula is y minus k squared equals to 4p x minus h. So can someone tell me what is the vertex in this case? H and K. What's your vertex? Summer, Adam? H is
-5.
and K is
-9.
Yep. And then your P, you just take this, solve for it. 4p equals to 2. P in this case is what?
1/2.
1/2. This is the most important. You know, if you know your HK and your P, the rest is all good. Then what you need to do is focus is this formula and directrix is that formula, apply it, and then you will get your answer. And because your P is positive, so it's going to be look something like this. And your vertex point here will be -5, -9. So the graph, you can tell it will be at -5, -9. This is the graph because this is the one that has a -5 and a -9. The rest is. So we know the vertex is -5, -9. And for the directrix and the focus point, you just need to use the formula. Again, this formula is provided to you in your test. You do not need to memorize it, but you have to add on something is the blue ink here. Those blue and the black, this blue ink here is not given in your finals. So make sure you guys add on to it. So this is actually, it will be in your final. Okay. You guys have any more questions before we end today's class here? Homework questions you have?
I don't have anything.
Summer?
Same.
Yep. If you do ask me, because tomorrow I will go through a few more. So if tonight you do your homework and you figure out that you find some questions, just write it down on a piece of paper, and then tomorrow we'll talk about it. We'll spend like 5, 10, like 2, 3 questions to go over it. Okay. That's it for today. You guys okay here? I can tell you that chapter 11 is even easier. And I just started grading your test, so so you probably will get your test graded by this week. Okay. Any more questions, you guys?